Hi everyone, welcome to the Microsoft Technical Takeoff event for Remote Help. My name is Kara Wang and I am the product manager for Remote Help, and I'm here joined by Rodolfo.
Yeah, my name is Rodolfo Bermudez. I'm also a product manager at the customer experience team with the Intune.
And we're here to talk to you about secure help desk support using Microsoft Intune Remote Help. So here is the agenda of today's session. First, I'll give an overview of Remote Help by the platforms that we support. Then we'll talk about features that the team has shipped. And then lastly, we will give an overview of Remote Help for Windows, Android, and macOS devices, and a demo of what that looks like. So going over Remote Help by the platforms that we support today to give you a comprehensive view of what this looks like for your environment, with the goal of keeping the differences between platforms very minimal because of the inherent operating system differences and maturity in product. We have slight differences between the different platforms. For Windows Remote Help, it's in an application that can be deployed as Win32 app or using Enterprise App Management in Intune for the helper and the sharer, and the users can opt in for auto updates. For right now, we offer view-only and full control sessions. We offer the ability to help a device, whether that device is enrolled or unmanaged through Intune. And this setting can be configured in the Remote Help blade. The help desk agent can navigate to the device in Intune they're trying to troubleshoot and send a notification directly to the user's device to start the session. And this eliminates the need to exchange session codes. We support today Windows 11 and 10 and on ARM64 devices, as well as Win365. We support single-session Azure Virtual Desktop, so one user to one virtual machine connection with plans to unblock multi-session AVD support as well. Switching gears to Remote Help support for Android. For the helper's experience, the session is entirely in Intune, and we offer the ability to do view-only, full control, and unattended sessions. We only are able to offer help to enrolled devices, and as a helper, you're able to send a notification to the user's device to let them know that a remote help session is about to start. We offer support on Android Enterprise Dedicated enrollment modes and select Samsung and Zebra devices. And lastly, Remote Help on macOS devices. We offer the ability for the helper to view the screen and take control of that device in web, and the user receives help using a native application, whether that device is enrolled or not. The app can be deployed through Intune as a PKG or line of business app, and the users can opt in to automatic updates through Microsoft Auto Update now. The help desk agent can navigate to the device in Intune they're trying to troubleshoot, and there will be a dedicated session link that they can share with the user that they're trying to help. The user can then join that session without the need to exchange any session codes in between, and we offer support for macOS 13 through 15, and as well as on Safari, Chrome, and Edge browsers. Now moving on to features that the team has shipped. Since Windows Remote Help became generally available, admins have the ability to disable the chat functionality in the Remote Help app in a tenant level setting. Before a helper connects to a session, a non-compliance warning notification alerts the helper with an additional link that allows the helper to learn more about why a device is non-compliant in Intune. Help desk agents can also annotate in the session using a laser pointer to help direct the user's attention to any relevant area on their device. We have a full-featured chat that removes the need for a live person-to-person call between the help desk and user during the session by supporting a continuous thread of conversation. With conditional access, admins can create policies that require, for example, strong authentication using MFA. If the helper starts the session as a view-only session and decide that they need to take control of the sharer's device, they have the ability to switch that type of session during that session with the sharer's permission. We also support Win 10, 11 on ARM64 devices, AVD, and Windows 365. We have shipped a feature that launches Remote Help seamlessly from Intune by sending a notification to the sharer's device, which allows the help desk and sharer to be in a connected, session without entering session codes. Across all different platforms, in addition to remote help session reports, we've also added audit logs that allows admins to reference any past activities for troubleshooting or analyzing any log activities. We also additionally support government cloud GCC customers in all platforms. Now we're going to be moving on to remote help for Windows devices and taking a look at what that looks like today. With remote help support for Windows devices, an organization's help desk is able to connect to a device via a secure cloud-based solution to users no matter where they're located, with the ability to view and take control of that device, whether that device is managed or unmanaged by Intune. With role-based access control, admin can configure different tiers of help desk support with different permissions on who they can help and whether that is a view-only, full control, and having the ability to run elevated permissions during a session. Help desk can launch remote help seamlessly from Intune by sending a notification to the chair's device that allows them to be in a connected session without entering session codes. By showing the Enter ID picture, company name, title, and verified domains for both parties up front, remote help creates trust on both sides of the equation. And before connecting to a user's device, the helper sees a non-compliance warning about that device and can learn more about why that device is non-compliant in Intune. When needed, a helper with RBAC permissions or elevations can interact with the UAC prompt to resolve any issues that might require admin permissions. Admin can create conditional access policies in the Remote Help app, and in Microsoft Intune, an admin can monitor current active sessions for Remote Help and view any details about past sessions with rich session reporting and audit log trails. And now I'm going to be showing you what this experience looks like today. Maya works for Lambda Healthcare Company and is having issues with her device. She called the help desk and Taylor determines that he needs to remote control her device to help troubleshoot. Taylor navigates to Maya's device in Microsoft Intune and then selects New Remote Assistant Session. He selects Remote Help and then Continue. This will send a notification to Maya's device. To ensure that Maya is who she says she is and prevent an attacker from using her credentials to view and access devices in her org, Lambda Healthcare Company has created a conditional access policy that requires strong authentication using multi-factor authentication to use Remote Help. As Maya signs into Remote Help, she is prompted to approve the request in her Authenticator app, which allows her access to the Remote Help app. Maya will click on the notification and this will open Remote Help on her side. Taylor then opens up Remote Help from the Intune portal. Taylor sees information about Maya, such as her name, profile picture, job title, and verified domain. He then selects View Screen. Maya then sees similar information about Taylor and that he is asking to see her screen. So then she clicks Allow. When the session begins, Taylor receives a message that Maya's device is not compliant with security policies. This is helpful so Taylor can make a more informed security decision about whether he should access the device or send it to his security team for further assistance. He clicks on OK to proceed. Now, Taylor and Maya are in a connected screen sharing session. Taylor feels that screen share is not adequate enough to troubleshoot the issue on Maya's device, so he would like to switch to a full control session. He then requests a full control session. Maya is notified of this request and clicks on Allow. Now that the session is a full control session, Taylor has local admin rights on Maya's machine and clicks on the button that allows her to interact with the UAC prompt and can enter in credentials as admin to further troubleshoot issues. There's also the laser pointer control and enhanced chat functionality to help further reduce time to mitigation. With that, I'm going to be handing the rest of this presentation to Rodolfo, who will be talking to you about remote help for Android and macOS devices.
Thank you, Kara. Now we'll be covering Android and macOS with remote help. Now, We'll first talk about some of the key features we have for remote help with Android devices. The first one being attended screen sharing and attended full control, which are supported for Samsung or Sierra devices. Additionally, we have unattended full control, where the helper can create a session with the devices without the device noticing that the helper is having a session with that particular device. Additionally, we also have the session history reporting, where we can see all the different sessions, who was the helper, who was the device receiving assistance from that specific helper, for how long was the session. So all the history will be available in the reporting section. Additionally, we have for Windows, we have the non-compliance warning for Android devices, where the helper can receive a warning whether or not a device that is trying to create a session to it's under compliant or not. Additionally, we can have role-based access controls, RBAC, to specify which permissions the helper is going to have when creating the remote help sessions, whether they have full control or only view control over devices. Additionally, we have the strong authentication, where both the helper and the sharer can be verified with their Entra ID accounts to make sure they are the right users. We'll now share a pre-recorded session of Android support with remote help.
Susan's going to try and start a remote help session with the non-compliant device. Notice that the UI warns her that this device isn't compliant, so maybe she wants to think twice about connecting to it and entering passcodes and so on. Next, Susan is going to go back to the list of devices, and this time we're going to look at the device that is compliant. So she's going to click on Start New Remote Assistance Session, and you'll see that she gets these three options to choose from: screen sharing, full control, and unattended control. Susan has just issued some new devices to the store, and she wants to go over the setup with Katie, the store manager, before these devices are distributed to store associates. So she's on the phone with Katie, and she's going to initiate a request for full control in the admin console. On the device, Katie sees a prompt that shows Susan's UPN and a request for full control with a reminder to close anything that you don't want the other person to see. Katie doesn't really want Susan to see the search that she's been doing about paintbrushes, so she's going to decline this first request so that she can close Edge on the device. In the admin console, Susan can see that Katie has declined the request, so Susan's just going to wait until Katie confirms on the phone that she's ready, and then she's going to go back and try to start that session again. On the device, the prompt shows up again, and this time Katie hits accept. And now in the admin console, we can see that we're connecting to the device. I'm actually going to quit out of the Manage Home Screen kiosk for a moment here to properly go over the different controls in the interface. So in the top left here, it tells you which mode you're in: screen sharing, full control, or unattended control. On the right, we have our soft buttons, back, home, and overview. And if you're not familiar with Android devices, the overview button typically just shows you a list of all the apps that have been running. So we can open something and then hit back to go back to the previous screen, and we can also use the home button to return home. You'll also notice that although the buttons on the device are actually in the reverse order of what's shown in the control UI, they perform as expected because we're mapping these to actual inputs on the device and not pixel positions. Next, we have the volume down and volume up buttons, which kind of do what you would expect: decrease or increase the volume on the device. Finally, we have the power button, which on most Android devices is going to be a button that's on the side of the device. When you do a short press, it typically turns the screen off, and if you press and hold, depending on the device model and manufacturer, you might see a slightly different behavior, such as a restart device action. but this will work just the same as if you push the physical button on the side of the device. Finally, on the right, we have a leave button, where clicking on this will simply leave the session and close the app in the console as well as on the device. But we are not going to leave this session quite yet. So let's actually go back to Katie in the Manage home screen and look at a couple more ways that you can interact with this device. I'm just going to open up my warehouse management app over here. And you can see that we can tap on things, we can swipe on the screen, everything that you would expect to be able to do if the device was physically in front of you. And we can actually also perform keyboard input. So while she has Susan on the phone, Katie has a question about something else, and Susan wants to show Katie what an Ethernet cable looks like so that Katie can plug that back into the wall. She's going to open up Edge right on Katie's device and search for an image of a Cat6 cable. And let me just bring my keyboard into the view of the camera over here. And you can see that Susan is typing on the computer keyboard and that input gets mirrored on the Android device. So interacting with the device from the admin console really feels very natural and mirrors all the standard behaviors that you would expect to be able to perform on the device. Now let's quit this session and do something else and take a look at unattended sessions. One of the employees at the store has sent over an email complaining that a particular device isn't connecting to a Bluetooth label printer. Susan wants to be able to remotely access this device while it's in the charging dock during a scheduled maintenance window. This way, she can take control of the device while it continues to charge, and the next day, a store associate can come back and start to use it again. So she's going to go back to the admin console and click on Start New Remote Assistance Session, and this time she's going to initiate unattended control. You'll notice that the UI is a little bit different here, and it says that we are connecting to the device, but we don't need there to be a person on the other end to accept the request. Instead, the session will automatically begin after a certain timeout duration, and the reason for that is just to give the person on the other end a chance to back out, just in case this isn't really an unattended session, and they weren't expecting a request for control to come in. Now, the session has started, and what we're looking at is the locked device with a black screen, which is exactly what you would expect since it's sitting in a back room in the charging dock and there's nobody around. But there's nothing to worry about. We can simply use remote help to turn the screen on and unlock the device from our end by clicking on the home button. So now that we have the screen on, let's just take a look at what's going on with the Bluetooth. And it looks like somebody has accidentally turned that off. So we can fix that by turning it back on. And we should be good to go. Let's close this settings menu by clicking on the floating home button once again. And we'll click on the power button to turn the screen off. And now we can end the session. There are a couple of ways that we can do this. On the device itself, we can end the session by using this floating button that indicates the session is in progress. In some cases on the device, you can also end it from a notification that shows the session's in progress, which I can't show to you right now just because I have the Manage Home Screen kiosk configured to disable the notification shade. But again, it's not really a problem because we always have the admin console where we can just click on that leave button, leave the session, and you can see now on the device that the floating button is gone and the help session has ended. I want to go over a couple more things that I didn't get to show in that demo just now. If a session is left untouched for too long, Remote Help displays an idle countdown timer on both ends, both in the admin console and on the device. This will automatically end the session after a while as a security measure, in case the device or the helper device is left unattended. Just like Remote Help on Windows, Remote Help on Android also provides reporting, so you can view the following information for Android sessions: the provider ID or who is assisting the device name, device serial number, AED device ID, control type, so attended control, unattended control, or view only, as well as the times that the session started and ended. In addition to these session reports that you can view in the admin console, we've also added audit logs for remote help sessions that were created in Intune. This way, administrators can reference past events for troubleshooting and analyzing log activities.
Now, we'll talk about macOS support with remote help. And the first thing that we will do is talk about some of the key features that we have for macOS devices. With macOS devices, we have a web app for the helper and also a native app for the sharer that provides attended, screen share, and full control support. The helper is going to launch a session from the Intune on their device and provided a short link to the sharer. Additionally, we have support sessions with unenrolled devices, so the helper can also provide support to devices that are not managed by Intune. Like for the other platforms, with macOS devices, we have the device non-compliance warnings, which can help the helper to determine whether or not to establish a remote sessions with that specific device to security reasons. Role-based access controls, RBAC, are also a key feature with macOS devices. We can also establish which type of permissions the helpers are going to have over those devices, if they can only perform a view session or if they can take full control. A strong authentication would also be another key feature with macOS devices that ensures that both the helper and the sharer can be authenticated using their Entra ID credentials. macOS devices also support conditional access, which allows them to make sure they meet the security requirements from Entra ID. The chat experience feature is also available for macOS devices, where the helper and the sharer can interact using the chat feature to share information and also share instructions needed for the specific sessions they are conducting. Last but not least, we have the session reporting history and audit logs in Intune, where we can have all the history of those remote help sessions established to macOS devices. We can see for how long the sessions lasted and also see who was the helper, who was the sharer, and have all that information available for auditing purposes. Now we have another pre-recorded demo where we show the macOS experience with remote help.
So now I'm going to be talking about remote help support on macOS devices. So how this starts is that the helper sets up the session in Intune today by navigating to the device that they're trying to help, and they have a short link that they can share with the sharer, which includes the passcode in that short link. For unenrolled devices, a helper can directly navigate to the remote help website and share a session security code. After sharing the security code with the sharer, the helper with the correct RBAC permissions can start the session as either screen sharing or full control. So now the sharer accepts the session and they are able to connect to a remote help support session. Switching over to the experience for the sharer. After they get the session code from the helper, they can enter it into the remote help application on their macOS device. Waiting for the helper to set up the session, and after the helper selects the full control session, then they have the option to allow or decline that session. After they clicked on allow, then the helper is able to connect to the sharer's device. And switching over to the helper's experience, this is what it'll look like for them after they are able to connect to the sharer's device. and they're able to take control of the macOS device, as well as performing any action needed to troubleshoot that device.
All right, and now after this last demo, we are ready to wrap this video up. Thank you everyone for watching, and now I hand it over to Kara.
Thanks so much for joining us today at the Microsoft Technical Takeoff event for Remote Help. If you want to learn more about Remote Help, you can go visit aka.ms/remote help and see you at the next event.